This is Tarkov without smooth motion, and this is with it on. It looks way smoother, but there's a lot of caveats with this setting. I've seen a lot of people say that this can fix Tarkov stuttering and make the game feel way better, so I decided to do some tests with smooth motion on versus off to see if it's actually worth using. Smooth motion basically generates extra frames between your real frames to make movement look smoother. So even if your game is running at a lower FPS, it looks like a higher FPS. The key point there being looks higher. It's not actually giving you more FPS. Smooth motion is enabled in the top right corner. We have our real FPS and smooth motion FPS. Another enables smooth motion, go into the NVIDIA app, and you're gonna go to graphics tab, program settings, escape from Tarkov, and all the way at the bottom, you can see here smooth motion. A quick note is when you enable smooth motion, you'll see low latency mode automatically turns to ultra. This is completely normal. And if you're running G-Sync and V-Sync, so if you're not running smooth motion, you also want to set your low latency mode to ultra. So we're just gonna go ahead and enable smooth motion, and you'll want to restart your game if you have it running beforehand. Now we can take a look at how this actually performs in game. The gameplay you've been watching has smooth motion enabled. I tested all of this live on my stream, by the way. If you want to see more of this stuff or be a part of the testing, links are in the description. It almost feels like you're playing at a higher FPS than you actually are. The game's inputs are still going to feel pretty slow compared to getting a much higher FPS. When it comes to input lag, I honestly could not really tell a difference. I think you would mostly feel the difference in those situations where your real performance is pretty low because you're going to be rendering fake frames in between low FPS. And I think that's where input lag and input latency is going to be most noticeable. One thing I wanted to mention is, as you can see here, I'm on the newest patch for this footage, and we're actually getting like 40 to 50 more FPS on average, and it's a lot better than it used to be. If you're getting like 200 FPS, smooth motion is going to feel pretty nice. You already have a strong baseline. Around 120 FPS, it's kind of a preference thing. Some people are going to like it, some people won't. But if you're under 100 FPS, it starts to feel pretty rough, especially with that added input delay. So maybe check out the new patch and see how your system is handling and kind of go from there. One thing to keep in mind though is consistency, even if it means you're getting bad FPS. So what I mean by that is, let's say you're getting 40 FPS on streets. Even though that's technically a low FPS, when it comes to your inputs, so right clicking to aim down sights and left clicking to shoot, as well as your mouse movements and your keyboard movements, it's extremely consistent in the sense that you're used to that input delay, because there is an input delay from getting less FPS. When you're using something like smooth motion, your visual is going to look like, oh wow, I'm getting 80 or 150 or 200 FPS. But your input is actually going to be based on the engine rendering half of that FPS. It's kind of hard to explain in this video, but to sum it up, basically it can make your aiming and your inputs feel a little weird. So some people are going to prefer it and some people aren't. Now here's some gameplay with smooth motion off with my normal setup. So G-Sync, V-Sync, and an FPS cap. You're not really going to be able to tell much of a difference in the video here, but it's definitely not as smooth visually. I think the best way to show it on video was actually what I did for the intro, albeit pretty exaggerated. We're looking at 30 FPS gameplay versus 60 FPS gameplay, and that kind of shows the visual representation of the difference of it off and on. So the honest answer from me is a little bit of a cop-out. I have been testing smooth motion on versus off for the past few months. And for my specific setup, I think I'm honestly just going to leave it on, at least for a little bit. I get on average 150 to 200 FPS anyways, just like raw FPS. So having those AI frames in the middle doesn't really make that big of a difference to me. The game still feels really similar. I think if I was getting a lot less base FPS, I think it would be a bit of a different story. I think it would feel a little bit weirder and I would have more issues with the input lag and latency. As I've said in basically every single one of my videos, it really will depend on your setup, and not even just your setup, but also your personal preference. You might really love the way it looks and you're willing to deal with that input lag and deal with that input latency, or you might not like it at all. So at the end of the day, ultimately up to your choice. I just wanted to give some information out there on my thoughts and a good way to set it up. If we're talking strictly from an input latency competitive shooter, which Tarkov is, your best setup is still G-Sync, V-Sync, and a proper FPS cap for consistent performance. Smooth motion is interesting though, just probably not practical for most players that care about that. If you want me to test more settings like this, let me know what I should do next. Catch y'all in the next video. Peace.